On the day the Sterling family empire teetered on the brink of bankruptcy, I gave Victoria Sterling two choices. She could either break up with her golden boy and marry me, securing my capital to save her family, or she could stay with him, and I would walk away, leaving the Sterlings to their fate. I remember Victoria crying in front of me for hours that day, begging me to save her family without destroying her relationship with Julian Hayes. I didn't budge. I gave her 24 hours to decide. The next day, Victoria showed up in a wedding dress. She looked at me with a smile more painful than tears, her eyes burning with resentment. She said, "Ethan, as you wish. I am yours." To pull the Sterlings back from the ledge, I poured in money, resources, and every ounce of leverage I had. I came home exhausted every single day. But Victoria took it all for granted. She never showed a shred of concern. In her mind, she had betrayed her true love to marry me. Everything I did was simply debt repayment, my penance for forcing her hand. After the wedding, she treated me coldly. There was no warmth, no affection, barely even a smile. I knew she resented me for taking advantage of her vulnerability, but I loved her. I convinced myself that if I just treated her well enough, for long enough, she would eventually feel my sincerity. I was willing to wait for my childhood sweetheart to let go of her prejudice and fall in love with me. I didn't expect that wait to last 7 years. Time changes everything. Over those 7 years, the Sterling family fortune rebounded and soared, while I, due to a series of strategic missteps, watched my own business flounder. On the day my company was about to be hostily taken over, Victoria stepped in and bought it, becoming the majority shareholder. When I heard the news, I was ecstatic. I thought I had finally melted her icy heart. I rushed into the office, only to find Victoria sitting in my chair, watching me quietly across the wide mahogany desk. I walked around to hug her, unable to contain my emotion. "Vicky, thank you. Thank you for saving the company. You really do love me, don't you?" Victoria pushed me away, her voice frigid. "Ethan, remember this. From now on, I'm your creditor. Everything here goes by my rules." Her words hit me like a bucket of ice water. The chill went straight to the bone. I let out a hollow laugh. "So, do you want a divorce?" Asking the question caused a physical ache in my chest. I was terrified she would say yes. It was pathetic. Even now, I wasn't willing to let go. Victoria ignored the question. Instead, she gestured to a man standing in the corner. "This is Caleb Rivers. He's the professional consultant I've hired. Hand over your responsibilities to him. You don't need to worry about company management anymore." I looked at Caleb Rivers. The more I looked, the more familiar he seemed, and the colder my heart grew. I couldn't help asking, "Do you hate me that much?" "You couldn't run the company, so I found someone who can. You get to be a silent partner with zero stress. What are you unsatisfied about? You taking the company?" "Fine. I accept that I failed. But was it necessary to bring in a guy who looks exactly like Julian Hayes just to spite me?" "Caleb graduated from an Ivy League school with impeccable credentials. But you only see a face. Ethan, you really are too narrow-minded to achieve anything great." Bitter bile rose in my throat, but I forced a sarcastic smile. "Caleb, you're on a first-name basis already. You call me by my full name, yet you're so cozy with an outsider." The air in the room grew tense. Just as Victoria and I were about to explode, Caleb stepped in. "Mr. Cole, please have some class. No need to be so petty. Ms. Sterling brought me in for your benefit, afraid you were burning out. Instead of thanking her, you accuse her. Isn't that a bit ungrateful?" Rage flared in my chest. "This is a conversation between a husband and wife. Who asked you?" "Shut up. You shut up," Victoria snapped, glaring at me. "Why are you being so aggressive?" She turned to Caleb, her voice instantly softening into a gentle tone I hadn't heard in years. "Let's go, Caleb. It's lunchtime. I've already booked a private room." She didn't spare me another glance as she led him toward the door. Caleb paused, holding Victoria back slightly. He pointed at me and asked with feigned politeness, "Aren't we inviting Mr. Cole?" Before I could speak, Victoria said, "Don't worry about him. He won't go." "I'll go," I interrupted coldly. Victoria frowned deeply. "Can't you eat by yourself? Do you have to tag along?" I laughed out of sheer anger. "Victoria, am I not even worthy of eating with you now? Or do you have a guilty conscience and you're afraid I'll see something I shouldn't?" She opened her mouth to berate me, but Caleb stopped her. He gave me a look that was half smile, half smirk. "Ms. Sterling, it's just an extra pair of chopsticks. If Mr. Cole wants to come, let him." Victoria looked from him to me, then dropped a warning, "Don't regret it." She walked into the elevator with Caleb. When we arrived at the restaurant, I finally understood why she said I'd regret it. I did. I had assumed it would just be the two of them, and I was determined to prevent them from being alone. But when the doors opened, the room was full of familiar faces, several of my former business partners. Their smiles turned awkward when they saw me, their eyes darting between me and Caleb. The large round table only had 2 adjacent seats left. Victoria immediately ushered Caleb into one, seating him right next to her. I hesitated, wanting to leave, but a waiter had already squeezed a chair in next to Victoria. She looked annoyed at the waiter's placement, but, given the audience, didn't make a scene. She ignored me completely, turning to introduce Caleb to the room. She knew everything about him, his degree, his background, his resume, reciting it flawlessly. The guests played along, eager to impress the new power player. Glasses clinked. The atmosphere was lively. I watched it all coldly, downing drink after drink. It used to be me introducing Victoria to these people. Now, she was parading Caleb around, grooming him not like a manager, but like a young lover she was carefully cultivating. They played off each other perfectly, making me feel like a redundant joke. A few people came over to toast me, their words laced with thinly veiled sarcasm about my fall from grace. I didn't have the energy to play their games, so I ignored them, planning to eat something to settle my stomach and then leave. I picked up my chopsticks, only to realize Victoria had ordered a table full of seafood. I sighed and put the chopsticks down. Just as I was about to ask the waiter for a bowl of noodles, a low voice hissed in my ear. "I told you not to come. You insisted. Now who are you throwing a tantrum for, slamming your chopsticks down like that?" I looked at Victoria. Her beautiful face was twisted with impatience. "Victoria," I said quietly, "don't you know I'm allergic?" Before I could finish, a hiss of pain came from Caleb's side. Victoria's attention snapped to him instantly. "What's wrong, Caleb?" Her voice was laced with panic. Caleb handed her a bowl. "It's nothing. Just burned myself a little ladling soup for you." Victoria grabbed his hand, inspecting it obsessively. Once she confirmed it wasn't serious, she relaxed. She took a sip of the soup he had served her, then turned back to me casually. "What were you saying just now?" "Nothing," I said, pushing down the disappointment as I stood up. "You guys eat. I'm going out for a smoke." Before I left the room, I heard Caleb apologizing. "Oh, this is my fault. Mister, Cole must feel awkward. I shouldn't have invited him. He sounded so guilty." Victoria immediately stopped eating to comfort him. "Don't worry about him. He has thick skin. He's been in business for years. This is nothing to him." I paused, suppressing the urge to turn around and scream, then pushed the door open and walked out. Victoria didn't care about me, but I still cared about her. This was her event. I didn't want to make a scene and embarrass her. Outside the hotel, the midday sun hit me, but I felt no warmth. My hands and feet were ice cold. For the first time, I seriously asked myself if forcing Victoria to marry me had been a mistake. Forget the childhood memories. We had been married for 7 years. 7 years of devotion hadn't made her love me. Maybe I really should let go. But just as she couldn't let go of her first love, I couldn't let go of her. The thought of separating from her was physically painful. I couldn't bring myself to initiate the divorce. I smoked half a pack of cigarettes, my empty stomach aching. I crushed out the last, but planning to find a diner, then realized I'd left my phone in the private room. I had to go back. I walked to the door, expecting the party to be winding down. What I saw through the cracked door struck me like lightning. The guests were gone. The table was a mess of leftovers. Victoria was clearly drunk, her face flushed, leaning heavily on Caleb's shoulder. She had her arms wrapped around his neck, looking at him with hazy, tear-filled eyes. "Julian, do you know how much I miss you? I never forgot you all these years. I didn't want to break up. I had no choice." She became more distraught as she spoke, eventually breaking into sobs. It was a heartbreaking sight. Caleb seemed to enjoy it immensely. He tightened his grip on her waist and pulled her directly onto his lap. Stroking her back, he whispered ambiguously, "Ms. Sterling, even though I'm not the man you're talking about, I don't mind helping you through this. If it hurts that much, just pretend I'm him. You can do whatever you want with me. Don't keep the sadness inside." Victoria seemed to sober up slightly, pulling back to look at him with a frown. I thought she was going to slap this imposter for taking advantage of her. Instead, a second later, she collapsed back into his arms. "Ms. Sterling, you..." Caleb acted surprised. "Call me Vicky." "Vicky." Victoria choked back a sob. "Julian, hold me tight." Caleb complied immediately, wrapping his arms around her waist. He buried his face in the crook of her neck, inhaling deeply like a pervert. "Vicky, you smell so good." Victoria laughed through her tears. "Do you like it? It's the perfume you gave me the first time. I haven't changed brands in all these years." My brain bust. I stumbled back a few steps. No wonder she never wore the expensive perfumes I bought her, always going to great lengths to source that niche foreign brand. I used to think she just wanted to be unique. Now, I realized she was wearing the scent of her ex-lover. I remember dragging myself out of a sickbed to fly overseas just to buy that specific perfume for her birthday, thinking I was making her happy. I wanted to slap my past self. Inside, Victoria was clutching Caleb's sleeve, begging, "Julian, don't leave me. I have money and status now. No one can force me to do things I don't want to do anymore. Let's make up for the regrets of our youth, okay?" Caleb looked like he'd won the lottery. "Don't worry, baby. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." Victoria finally seemed satisfied, curling into his arms, gazing at him with pure adoration. Outside the door, a tidal wave of anger crashed over me. My hands clenched into fists, shaking, until finally I just let go. Forget it. There's no point in keeping someone whose heart belongs elsewhere. Victoria would rather find a manipulative body double than look at the man who actually loved her. Why was I still forcing this? I pushed the door open and walked straight to my seat to grab my phone. They looked at me, startled. I ignored them. "Ms. Sterling is drunk and mistook me for someone else. I was just comforting her, Mr. Cole. Please don't misunderstand." Caleb explained, though his hand didn't leave Victoria's waist. "It's fine," I said calmly. "I don't mind." My reaction stunned them both. Victoria looked at me with suspicion, seeming to sober up a bit more. She pushed Caleb away and tried to stand, but the alcohol threw her off balance. In the past, I would have rushed to catch her. Today, I just watched coldly as she fell to the floor. The fall woke her up completely. She looked up at me in disbelief, eyes full of grievance. Sitting on the floor, she asked, "Ethan, what is wrong with you? You aren't even going to help me up?" I didn't speak. I just looked at her. Perhaps my silence was too unnerving, because her eyes shifted away, showing a rare flash of guilt. "It's not what you think. I drank too much. My mind is messy. You have to understand. You know about back then." "Yeah, I understand," I interrupted. "He looks like your first love." "Victoria hesitatif." I continued peacefully. "You have regrets about that relationship. It's human nature. I get it. See? I'm not even blaming you. Pretty generous of me, right?" Victoria looked at me strangely. "Ethan, what's going on with you?" I didn't answer. I grabbed my phone and nodded at them. "I won't disturb you too. Carry on." I turned to leave, but she grabbed my hand. Her face was dark, eyebrows knitted together. "I explained it to you. I was drunk and confused. Who are you putting on this show for? Besides, what happened back then was your fault. Am I not allowed to vent my emotions?" She seemed to find her sharp tongue again. "I know I'm married. I have boundaries. I was just drunk. If I really wanted to do something with Caleb, would I do it in a public place like this? You're always so petty. You're the one who wronged me years ago. What right do you have to feel aggrieved?" Once she started digging up old grudges, she couldn't stop. "We grew up together. I treated you like a brother, but you took advantage of my crisis to force me to marry you. Even if I haven't cheated, and even if I did, it would still be your fault first. Do you know why I forced you to break up?" Julian Hayes was a hypocrite. I hadn't wanted to bring up the dirty truth about her ex, but I couldn't help it. She cut me off violently. "Enough. I don't want to hear it. You never have anything good to say about Julian. I know what kind of person he was better than you. I am tired. I don't want to argue. Drive me home." I stood motionless. My heart, already riddled with holes, took another stab. My hands trembled. "Ethan," she stepped forward. I said, "Take me home." "Didn't you hear me? I'm forgiving you for your attitude. So why is a grown man acting so dramatic?" Well, I didn't react. Caleb chimed in eagerly. "Vicky, how about I drive you? Mr. Cole doesn't look well." He shot me a provocative glance. I forced a smile and whispered to Victoria, "See, someone is offering to take you. Why force me? Vicky, let's go." Caleb draped her coat over her shoulders, acting possessive. Victoria impatiently shrugged him off. "No need." Caleb froze, looking hurt. Victoria immediately softened. She patted his arm soothingly. "Sorry, Caleb. I didn't mean to snap at you. You go ahead. I have something to discuss with Ethan." She glanced at me and awkwardly corrected herself. "With my husband." I turned my head in surprise. Victoria had always found our marriage shameful. She called me by my full name, Ethan Cole, for years. The only time she called me husband was in bed when she wanted me to stop. Hearing her say it in public usually made my week. Now, realizing how pathetic that was, I felt nothing. Caleb, however, looked furious. He said a stiff goodbye and left quickly. Victoria instinctively chased after him a few steps, then stopped. Right in front of me, she sent a voice message. "Be careful on the way home, Caleb. Text me when you get there." Watching her instinctive concern for him, a wave of exhaustion hit me. Enough. Whether it was Julian or his clone Caleb, they both meant more to her than I did. What was the point of my 7 years of devotion? This forced marriage. I couldn't afford the price anymore. Victoria, I said, my voice hollow. Maybe we should just... Before I could say call it quits, she dropped a bomb. I'm pregnant. You still there? The breakup words died in my throat. What's with that face? She frowned. You're gonna be a dad. Why aren't you happy? I stood there silently, unsure how to react. Finally, I muttered, you don't look that happy either. She went quiet. I knew her too well. There was no joy in her eyes. It made sense. Carrying the child of a man she didn't love wouldn't be a cause for celebration. We stood in silence. Finally, suppressing the pain, I said, since neither of us welcomes this child, maybe we should. Ethan, she interrupted suddenly. I booked a villa at the Montauk Resort for next Saturday. Let's go for a getaway. I looked at her, confused by the sudden subject change. Seeing my blank face, she pursed her lips. Don't you remember what next Saturday is? What is it? She didn't answer. She turned and walked away, seemingly angry. After a few steps, realizing I wasn't chasing her, she stopped and looked back. It's our wedding anniversary. You actually forgot. She didn't wait for an answer. I'll text you the address. We need to have a long talk. She stepped into the elevator, leaving me no room to refuse. After thinking it over, I decided to give her one last chance. On the day of our anniversary, despite the forecast predicting severe thunderstorms, I kept the appointment. To beat the storm, I left an hour early, hoping to reach the Hamptons before the weather turned. But luck wasn't on my side. The heavens opened up while I was still on the highway. At the height of the downpour, Victoria called. Looking at the caller ID, I had a sinking feeling. Sure enough, as soon as I answered, she said, Ethan, the trip is canceled. Something came up. She had broken promises so many times that I felt absolutely nothing. Instead of sadness, I felt a strange sense of relief. You haven't left the house yet, right? She asked. Her tone was unusually cautious, as if she were afraid I'd be angry. It was rare for Victoria to care about my emotions. I looked at the rain hammering against the windshield like a waterfall and replied with a calm no. I didn't tell her I was already halfway there. If I did, she'd just call me stupid rather than worry about my safety. Victoria didn't catch the lie. She let out a long sigh of relief. Good. The weather is terrible anyway. It's not safe to drive. And an anniversary doesn't have to be celebrated on the exact day. We can do it another time, right? You're right. I agreed, not mentioning that she was the one who insisted on this trip. Okay, I'm Busse. I have to go. She hung up impatiently before I could say another word. I listened to the disconnect tone, distracted. Suddenly, the car shuddered violently. A pile-up had occurred ahead due to the rain. I slammed on the brakes and swerved, but it was too late. My head slammed into the steering wheel. A ringing noise filled my ears, and blood instantly ran down my face. By the time the ambulance arrived, my consciousness was fading. A paramedic asked for family contact. Instinctively, I recited Victoria's number. By the time I realized it was a mistake, they had already dialed. It rang for a long time. But when it connected, it wasn't Victoria who answered. Hello, is this Ethan Cole's family? He's been in a car accident. Please get to the hospital immediately to sign the paperwork. As soon as the paramedic finished speaking, I heard a man's voice. Hold on a second. Even through the fog in my brain, I recognized it. It was Caleb. So, she was with him today. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. I heard him call out in the background, Vicky, phone for you. The nickname stung like a needle. In just a few days, he'd gone from Ms. Sterling to Vicky. I didn't believe for a second that he did that without her permission. I used to call her that, and she'd tell me I didn't deserve to use the name Julian used for her. I stared blankly at the roof of the ambulance, listening to Victoria's voice come through the speaker, muffled and annoyed. Who is it? If it's not important, handle it. I'm mixing you the Raflu. I don't have time. It's the hospital. They say Mr. Cole was in a car accident. They want you to come. There was silence on the other end for 2 seconds. Just as I foolishly wondered if she might worry, she said casually, hang up. The paramedic looked at me in shock, clearly unable to comprehend such coldness from a wife. Victoria continued, I talked to Ethan 30 minutes ago. He hadn't even left the house. How could he be in a car accident? It's obviously a scam call. True. Mr. Cole wouldn't be stupid enough to drive in this weather, Caleb chimed in, moving the phone closer to her. Vicky, maybe you should take it just to be sure. If it really is him and you don't go, he'll be heartbroken. It is your anniversary, after all. I'm fine, really. He followed this with a loud, theatrical cough. No need. Hang up, Victoria urged, her voice laced with anxiety, but for him. Come here, Caleb. Drink this before your fever spikes. You're a grown man. Why can't you take care of yourself? Vicky, thank you. You're so good to me. I'm actually jealous of Mr. Cole, having such a gentle and caring wife. Caleb sighed, then hung up the phone without hesitation. The paramedic looked at me with pity and asked if there was anyone else to call. Before I could answer, darkness took me. When I woke up, someone was wiping my face with a warm towel. The touch was gentle. In my days, I thought it was Victoria. But when I opened my eyes, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. You're awake? She set the towel down and pressed the nurse call button. I stared at her fair, delicate face, confused. She stepped back slightly, and I noticed one of her arms was in a sling. Seeing me staring, she smiled shyly. Your face had dry blood on it. I just cleaned it up. You are. Don't you remember me? She smiled. Ethan Cole, 10th grade, room 302. The specific classroom number brought it back. She was the transfer student who had been in our class for a semester. Lily? Lily Harper. That's me, she nodded. Guess we're hospital buddies now. Crashing into the same ER, what are the odds? It was awkward for a moment. To be honest, the first love letter I ever received as a teenager was from Lily. But back then, I was so obsessed with my childhood sweetheart that I rejected her without a second thought. You're Mary. Lily's gaze landed on the ring on my left hand. Her voice dropped. Yeah. Where's your wife? Why isn't she here? She asked casually, a normal question that stabbed right into my wound. After a long silence, I smiled bitterly. Because she's busy taking care of another man. Oh, I'm sorry. Lily paused, realizing she'd stepped on a landmine, and quickly changed the subject. The doctor came in, saw Lily, and shooed her out. You again? You have a fracture. Stop wandering around. Go back to your room. Lily stood up, but lingered. The doctor checked me over, told me I needed to stay for observation, and again insisted I contact family. He glared at Lily. Why are you still here? Rest is mandatory. Lily shuffled toward the door, looking back over her shoulder. If you need anything, let me know. Classmates should look out for each other. Don't be polite, okay? A warmth spread through my chest. I nodded. The next morning, I heard movement at the door. Thinking it was Lily, I called out, Come in, Lily. It's unlocked. The door opened, but it was Victoria. Who was Lily? Her face was stormy. Who did you think was coming to see you? She was holding a thermos, standing awkwardly in the doorway. In the past, if she had come to visit me, my anger would have vanished instantly. Now I just felt tired. Nobody, I said. Why are you here? Why can't I be here? Why didn't you tell me you were in an accident? Why did you lie and say you hadn't left the house? She fired 3 questions in rapid succession, aggressive as always. Completely different from the tender woman who mixed medicine for Caleb. I didn't have the energy to fight. I did tell you. The doctor called. You said it was a scam. Victoria clearly hadn't expected me to hear that conversation. Her eyes dodged mine for a second, but she quickly rallied, frowning. Are you blaming me? I asked if you went out, and you said no. Then a random number calls saying you crashed. Of course I thought it was a scam. She spoke with such conviction, as if everything was my fault. Gaslighting was her go-to move. I used to tolerate it. Not anymore. Scam or not. Couldn't you call me back to verify? I asked quietly. She choked for a second, then raised her voice. I told you I was busy. When I finished, I called you back, but you didn't pick up. You didn't even call to say you were safe, making me worry all night. Ethan, you really don't know how to care for people. She was relentless. I closed my eyes wearily. Did you come here just to argue? If so, wait until I'm discharged. I'm tired. I kept my eyes closed, dismissing her. I expected her to storm out, but I heard footsteps approaching. She walked to the bedside, a wave of that specific cologne-scented perfume washing over me. It made me nauseous. Are you in pain? Should I get the doctor? She reached out to touch my forehead. I turned my head to avoid her hand. She stared at her hand, stunned that I had rejected her touch. If there's nothing else, go back. I can handle this myself, I said. Silence stretched. Then her voice softened. Stop being difficult, Ethan. Actually, I'm not being difficult. I cut her off. Aren't you busy? Go be busy. I'm done being busy. I'm here to take care of you. We are husband and wife. I won't abandon you. She placed the items she brought on the nightstand, acting like she was settling in. Usually, if I gave her this kind of attitude, she'd lose her temper instantly. Today, she was acting strangely insistent on staying, which made me uncomfortable. You haven't eaten, right? I brought some seafood bisque. Have some. I shook my head. She frowned. Can you stop throwing a tantrum? It's your favorite. She scooped a spoonful and tried to feed me. I pushed her hand away. After a few attempts, she slammed the bowl down, grabbed her bag, and left. See? Her tenderness lasted less than 3 minutes. It was nothing like the genuine patience she showed Julian or Caleb. The truth was I never liked seafood. Victoria did. I loved her, so I adapted to her. She ate shrimp. I peeled them. She ate crab. I shelled it. I pretended to enjoy it, so I wouldn't ruin her mood. After every meal, I secretly took antihistamines. She never noticed. She just assumed I loved seafood as much as she did. But people get tired. I didn't want to hurt myself to accommodate her feelings anymore. I picked up the bowl of bisque and dropped it into the trash can. As I pulled my hand back, I saw the wedding ring on my finger. I slid it off and tossed it onto the side table. It was time to file for divorce. I stayed in the hospital for a few more days. Victoria didn't return, and I didn't call her. Lily, however, visited constantly. We swapped numbers and reconnected. When the doctor cleared me for discharge, I didn't tell Victoria. I packed my bag and went straight home. I unlocked the front door and froze. Caleb Rivers was walking out of my bathroom, wearing nothing but a pair of briefs. "What are you doing in my house?" "Mr. Cole, you're back." We spoke at the same time. I was furious. He was eerily calm, as if standing half naked in my living room was perfectly normal. "Mr. Cole, I know you're upset, but listen. Vicky invited me." "It's like this," he continued, drying his hair with a towel. "The water main burst near my apartment. No water for days. Vicky said I could crash here until it's fixed." I looked closer. That son of a bitch was using my face towel. Rage blinded me. I snatched the towel from his hand. "Who gave you permission to touch my things?" The force of my grab spun him around. He stumbled and fell to the floor with a thud, immediately crying out in pain. I watched coldly, waiting to see what act he would put on. Suddenly, Victoria ran out of the bedroom, holding a set of my pajamas. "Caleb, what happened?" She yelled, then locked eyes with me. She paused. "Ethan, you're discharged? Why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you? So you could hide your little lover in time." I pointed at the man on the floor. Victoria's eyebrows shot up. She exploded. "Are you sick? Can't we talk like adults? Why did you hit him? Caleb and I are innocent. What are you implying?" "I didn't hit him. He fell. Is that my fault too?" I gripped the towel, the absurdity of it all making me dizzy. "And since when do you let strangers sleep in our house without asking me?" "Caleb has a cold, and his apartment has no water. I let him stay for a few days, so what? Can you stop being so petty? I spent a fortune to hire him. I have to be responsible for him. He's alone in this city with no family. Put yourself in his shoes. Is compassion that hard?" Caleb lay on the floor, playing the peacemaker. "Forget it, Vicky. Don't blame Mr. Cole." I spoke out of turn and made him angry. "This is your home. It's normal for him to be bothered. I'll leave." He stood up, limping dramatically. Victoria grabbed him. "Where are you hurt?" "Twisted my ankle, I think." "It's okay. I'll take a cab to a hotel. Just make it up to Mr. Cole. Don't fight because of me." "Hotel? No, you don't know anyone here. I'm here to look after you. Stay. We have plenty of guest rooms. It's a waste not to use them." Watching them pull each other back and forth, I started laughing. "Ethan, what's funny?" "Nothing. Just feeling like a joke." I ignored her expression. "My mistake. I came back at a bad time and interrupted your domestic bliss." I turned to Caleb. "Don't leave. I'll go to a hotel. I'll make room for the happy couple." I turned and walked toward the door. "Ethan." Victoria chased me, grabbing my sleeve. "What are you talking about? You just got out of the hospital. Stop acting out. Go inside and rest." Caleb limped after her. "Yes, Mr. Cole. Stay. Vicky made soup especially for me, but I can't finish it. Join us." I stopped. I turned around and walked back. Caleb looked surprised, but quickly adjusted his mask. "That's right. Vicky said it was her first time cooking. If it goes to waste, it would be a shame to ruin her hard W." He didn't finish. I punched him square in the face. "Victoria screamed." I pulled back my fist and looked at her. "Watch closely. That is hitting him." Maybe my expression was terrifying because she didn't yell. She held on to Caleb, asking with a trembling voice, "Ethan, what's happening to you?" I didn't answer. I just said, "Find a time. Let's get a divorce." Then I turned and walked out. I hadn't planned to ask for a divorce right then. I want to sit down, draft an agreement, and end 7 years cleanly. But the rage clarified things. It wasn't that complicated. I took the elevator to the lobby. As the doors opened, Victoria stumbled out of the adjacent elevator. She was still in her loungewear, clearly having chased me down. "Ethan, what do you mean? You want a divorce? Are you serious?" She looked at me in disbelief. I nodded solemnly. "Yes." Her voice turned shrill. "Are you kidding me? You forced me to marry you. You made me break up with Julian. Now you want a divorce? What am I to you? A toy you can pick up and throw away? If anyone asks for a divorce, it should be me. I'm the victim here." "Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have forced you. I apologize." "Happy." My apology didn't soothe her. She looked even angrier. I tried reasoning. You don't love me anyway. It's been 7 years. I'm done hoping. I see how well you get along with pretty boy upstairs. I know you're tempted, so I'm setting you free. Go fulfill your teenage dream. Consider the company you stole from me as my payment for wasting your time. I told you Caleb and I are innocent. Why won't you let it go? She looked aggrieved, eyes red. We are innocent. Innocent, huh? Yes, she nodded. If there was something going on, would I invite him to stay at the house? Doesn't that prove I have nothing to hide? Logic so twisted it was almost impressive. I thought of Caleb in his briefs. Fina, I'll give you a chance. Go upstairs right now in front of Caleb, fire him. Tell him to get out of my house and go back to where he came from. Do that, and I'll believe you're innocent. She didn't hesitate. Business is business. Caleb is highly capable. We signed a contract. He hasn't done anything wrong at work. How can I fire him? Be reasonable. Okay, you have a point, I said. I took a step back. Then go upstairs and tell him to get the hell out of my house immediately. That's not an unreasonable request, is it? Victoria frowned in disapproval. Ethan, can you stop causing a scene? Why are you fixated on Caleb? I shook my head, laughing at myself. I didn't make any more demands. I had predicted this outcome before I even spoke, and Victoria didn't disappoint me. Her defense of Caleb was so blatantly preferential that a blind man could see it. What confused me was her reluctance to divorce. Why? She should be popping champagne. The only explanation was her ego. She couldn't handle being the one dumped. If she wouldn't agree to a mutual divorce, I'd have to sue. I turned to leave, tired of the meaningless back and forth. But Victoria grabbed me again. She looked at me, struggling internally, then grit her teeth. Come home with me. I'll make him leave. I paused. In that moment of hesitation, she dragged me into the elevator. Watching the floor numbers climb, I felt conflicted. Surprisingly, I didn't feel happy that she finally chose me. My love for her had been ground down to dust by years of neglect. Caleb's arrival was just the final gust of wind that blew the dust away. The only reason I went back up was a petty desire to see the look on that pretty boy's face when she kicked him out. The elevator opened. Victoria, seemingly afraid I'd bolt, dragged me to the door. Let go. I'm not running. I pull my hand back. She refused to release her grip. She unlocked the door, shouting, Caleb, I need to talk to you about something. Can you just... Her polite tone made me roll my eyes. The apartment was silent. Caleb was nowhere to be seen. Victoria's expression shifted. She called his name anxiously. Then she saw a figure on the living room floor. Her face went pale. She threw my hand away, the hand she had been clutching so tightly, and sprinted to him. Caleb, what's wrong? Don't scare me. Caleb groaned, slowly opening his eyes. Vicky, you're back. Did you work things out with Mr. Cole? Sigh, this is all my fault. Stop talking. What does it hurt? Why did you faint? She forgot all about me. I don't know. After you left, I looked for some ice for my face, and next thing I knew, I blacked out. He touched his swollen cheek, my handiwork, and looked like he might swoon again. Victoria glared at me. Why did you hit him so hard? I watched them coldly. Weren't you going to kick him out? Why haven't you said it yet? If you don't kick him out now, I'm assuming you two are together. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief. Ethan, are you human? He passed out, and you're making sarcastic comments? Do you have any empathy? You used to help strangers on the street. Why are you so cold to Caleb? Forget it. I don't have time for you. She ignored me and dialed 911 with trembling fingers, looking utterly panicked. The paramedics arrived quickly. After checking him, the EMT hesitated. Ma'am, his vitals are fine. Just a bit of low blood sugar. Some juice and rest at home should be enough. No, look at his face. And he was injured earlier. What if he has a concussion? Take him to the hospital for a full scan. I almost laughed out loud. She really thought highly of my right hook if she believed I gave him brain damage. Victoria. I couldn't help mocking her. I'm genuinely curious. What do you see in him? Just a face? You're incredibly loyal to a ghost. Can you stop being so cruel? It's a medical emergency. Caleb struggled to sit up. Victoria immediately supported him, letting him lean his entire weight on her. Vicky, don't fight with Mr. Cole. I'll rest a bit and then I'm fine. Listen to the doctor. I'll find a hotel later. I don't want to cause trouble. He said the words, but his body remained glued to hers, acting frail. Victoria Meditif. She shot me a look. Wait here for me. Then she hustled the paramedics to load him onto the stretcher and followed them to the hospital. I stood in an empty apartment and shook my head. I wanted to see him humiliated. Instead, I became the joke again. I never learned. Caleb's fake faint was obvious even to the EMTs, yet she bought a hook, line, and sinker. When her actual husband, was in a car crash. She didn't care. I didn't stay. I went to a bar. I ordered a chaotic mix of beers and spirits, ready to drown myself. Just as I reached for a glass, a slender hand snatched it away. Hey, looking for trouble? I turned angrily. It was Lily. She put the glass down and smiled. Fancy meeting you here. What are you doing here? I was surprised. Picking up a drunk friend. Just got here and saw you. She glanced at the table. Ordering this much? Aren't you supposed to be avoiding alcohol on your meds? I didn't answer, just sighed. Bad day. Something like that. I'll keep you company. She sat down next to me and signaled the bartender for another glass. Aren't you taking your friend home? I texted her boyfriend. He's coming. She clinked her glass against mine. We sip, okay? No getting wasted. Her interruption lifted my mood. We chatted for a while until my phone rang. Victoria. She must have settled her boy toy and remembered she had a husband. I declined to call. She called again instantly. I muted the phone. I thought she'd give up. She was too proud to chase me. I was wrong. 30 minutes later, Lily left. 10 minutes after that, Victoria appeared in the doorway of the bar. She scanned the room, spotted me, and marched over. She looked furious, but was trying to suppress it. I told you to wait at home. You don't answer calls. What? Her eyes landed on the glass Lily had used. There was a lipstick stain on the rim. Her voice turned sharp. Who were you drinking with? Is she the reason you want a divorce? I tried to explain, but she cut me off. I knew it. You changed your heart. That's why you want to leave me. You promised to treat me well forever, and now you're bored, so you dump me? Ethan, keep dreaming. She always did this, invented a narrative and treated it as fact. I used to defend myself. Now, since we were divorcing anyway, I didn't care what she thought of me. I stood up silently. Say something. Are you too ashamed to admit it? Think whatever you want. I walked away. She stood stunned for a moment, then followed me. I walked out and hailed a cab. Victoria grabbed the door. Where are you going? I turned and looked her up and down. Victoria, exactly what identity are you using to police me right now? She raised an eyebrow. I'm your wife. I can't manage you. My wife. I scoffed. My wife hangs up on doctors when I'm in a car crash to nurse another man. My wife moves strangers into my home. My wife can't get over her ex and flirts with his doppelganger. You really are a great wife. I got into the taxi. Furthermore, I already told you. I want a divorce. Do you understand English? You say divorce, and we divorce? I say no. She dove into the cab after me. Where to? The driver asked. I gave the address of a hotel. Victoria gave our home address. The driver looked between us. Seeing Victoria on the verge of tears, he sighed. Buddy, don't fight with the missus. Go home and talk it out. He started driving toward our apartment. When we got home, the place was spotless. No trace of Caleb. I had the cleaners come, Victoria explained, and I ordered a late-night dinner. I wanted to talk properly, but you weren't here. She dragged me to the table. You just got out of the hospital. You need nutrition. She was speaking calmly, which was rare. I was hungry, so I sat down and ate. 2 bites in, she frowned, staring at my left hand. Ethan, where's your ring? She grabbed my hand. Our wedding ring. Where is it? I didn't want to wear it. I took it off. I pulled my hand back. Since the wedding, she rarely wore hers. She hated introducing me as her husband. I, however, had worn mine every day until the hospital. That's our wedding ring. How can you just stop wearing it? She was angry. The hypocrisy was laughable. I don't know. Lost it, maybe. Does it matter? She stared at me, eyes reddening. Ethan, you weren't like this before. Her trembling lashes and aggrieved expression didn't move me. I was always like this. But before, I loved you, so I tolerated you. Now I don't. I didn't say the words, but she heard them. She went silent. After a while, she asked, Are you dead set on this divorce? Yes. It's better for both of us. You could be with Caleb openly. You like him so much. You don't want him to be the other man, right? I told you I don't like him like that. Why won't you believe me? She denied it frantically. I admit, I treat him specially because he looks like Julian. Julian was my first love. Everyone has regrets about their first love. Can't you understand that? Do we have to divorce over this? I countered, if I had an ex-girlfriend I was obsessed with, and I brought a look-alike home to play house with, would you understand? She fell silent. Finally, she muttered weakly, but us breaking up was your fault. I expected her to say that. It still chilled me. I took a deep breath. Forcing you to break up. Honestly, it was because I found out Julian Hayes was gambling and cheating on you. He was in massive debt. You were naive. I couldn't watch you get destroyed, so I used the family crisis to separate you. Victoria looked up sharply, shaking her head. Impossible. I don't believe it. Julian wasn't like that. Doesn't matter if you believe me. Since we're divorcing, I just want to clear the air. I won't carry the blame for things I didn't do. If you spent 10 minutes investigating, you'd know I'm telling the truth. Silence filled the room. Her voice trembled. I'll give you the company back. I'll fire Caleb. Can we not divorce? Too late, I said firmly. Keep the company as my compensation. But the marriage is over. But her voice broke. I'm pregnant. She looked at me through tears, grabbing my hand and placing it on her flat stomach. You know, it's hard for me to conceive. If we divorce, I'll have to terminate it, and I might never have another baby. Can you really be that cruel? It's your child, too. My heart skipped a beat. Seeing my hesitation, she gripped tighter. Even if we divorce, can we wait until the child is older? Please, Ethan. She called me Ethan, but with the tone she used when we were kids. It messed with my head. I thought for a long time, then put down my chopsticks and stood up. Where are you going? She panicked. To wash up and sleep. I ignored her look of relief and went to the bathroom. She knew when to stop pushing. I didn't want to sleep in the master bedroom, so I went to the guest room. I was just drifting off when a mattress dipped. Someone crawled into the dark room and wrapped slender arms around my waist. Victoria pressed her body against mine. I froze, then pushed her away and turned on the lamp. She was wearing a sheer lace nightgown, something I had fantasized about her wearing for years. She had always refused. Now she was wearing it, and I felt nothing but irritation. It's late. Stop this. Go back to sleep. She looked embarrassed. Husband. She lifted the hem slightly. Don't you want to? My skin crawled. You're pregnant. Do you want to lose the baby? She stopped, ashamed, but refused to leave. She insisted on sleeping there. Annoyed, I got up and went to sleep in the study. Her offensive continued through the next day. I went out for business, and she texted me repeatedly about a surprise. When I got home, she dragged me to the dining room. Candlelight dinner. Husband, I cooked all of this. It's a make-up for our anniversary. I looked at the table. I shook my head. Victoria, you don't need to force yourself. I might delay the divorce for the child, but our feelings aren't coming back. Her smile faltered. She had been trying hard for 24 hours, and I hadn't given her an inch. For a princess like her, it was torture. I pulled my hand away. Eat. I'll make noodles. She took a deep breath, forcing a smile. Just try it. It's my first time cooking seriously. Look, she showed me a Band-Aid on her finger. See, I cut myself cooking for you, she said, pouting. I stopped. It was time to end the charade. Victoria, I pointed at the lavish spread of lobster and shellfish. Do you know that I'm allergic to seafood? Her eyes widened. Impossible. You always eat it with me. If you cared about me, even a little, you would have noticed the rashes I got every time. I didn't want to ruin your mood, so I never said anything. I just took pills afterward. I walked to the cabinet and pulled out my stash. Look, 7 years of antihistamines. She looked from me to the food, her face pale. Husband, don't call me that. Call me by my name. I went to the kitchen. She stood there, blushing and pale by turns. Then she ran to the bedroom. She came back holding a small velvet box. She opened it to reveal a men's ring that looked exactly like my lost one. I had it custom made. Rush order. Wear this one. Look, I'm wearing mine too. We match. She tried to put on my finger. I brushed her hand away. I won't wear it. Stop doing this. If you keep pushing, I'm moving out. She clutched the box, tears welling up. I put my bowl of noodles on the table. She sat opposite me, crying silently. Stop crying, I said. She looked up hopefully. It's ruining my appetite. She stared at me in shock, a tear hanging from her lash. I kept eating. After a minute, she stood up and ran out of the apartment. I didn't ask where she was going. The next day, I had a meeting at a coffee shop. The client canceled last minute. As I was leaving, a familiar voice drifted from a booth behind a wall of decorative plants. I looked through the leaves. It was Victoria and her best friend. I started to walk away, but the friend asked, So what's the plan? You going to lie to your husband forever? I froze and sat back down. Victoria didn't answer immediately. The friend continued, He wants out? Just divorce him. You hated him anyway. I don't want a divorce, Victoria said quickly. I thought I hated him, but when he actually stopped wanting me, it hurt. I think I fell in love with him a long time ago. What about Caleb? Are you cutting him off? I don't know. Victoria sounded lost. Ethan told me about Julian's past. Now, when I see Caleb, it feels weird. But if I cut him off completely, I feel reluctant. My blood boiled. She wants both? I took a deep breath. You don't even know whose baby is in your stomach, the friend said. You can't fool Ethan forever. If he finds out, it'll be ugly. I have no choice. What if it is Ethan's? It's a 50-50 shot. I'm willing to roll the dice. He's a responsible man. If it's his, he won't leave. You're an idiot. Flirting is one thing, but sleeping with the guy? Now you're in a corner. Victoria was silent, then said firmly, I don't regret sleeping with him. Julian was my first love. Even if he was flawed, Caleb helped me resolve those regrets. It felt like closure. I couldn't listen anymore. I stood up and walked around the divider. Victoria saw me, and the blood drained from her face. Who, husband? Why are you here? Her lips trembled. You heard. Don't call me husband. It's disgusting. Let me explain. She begged. Give me one more chance. No. I grabbed her arm. We're going to the courthouse. Now. She refused to cooperate at the clerk's office, so I filed a lawsuit immediately, submitting the recording I'd inadvertently made and other evidence of the marriage breakdown. On the court date, we met outside. She smiled miserably, touching her belly. Ethan, if the judge grants the divorce, what about the baby? That's your problem. It's a 50% chance it's yours. Are you really that heartless? I'm not heartless. You play with fire. The judge granted the divorce. Victoria didn't give up. She dragged our parents into it, tried to use family pressure to force a reconciliation. Under pressure from both families, I agreed to a prenatal paternity test. The result? Not mine. The dust settled. I moved to a city on the other side of the country. 3 months later, I saw a photo on a mutual friend's social feed. Victoria and Caleb's wedding. Victoria's smile was strained, her dress unable to hide the bump. Caleb looked triumphant. I liked the post and scrolled on. I never heard from her again. I started a new business starting from scratch. Friends rarely visited because of the distance, but Lily came every month. She brought care packages, claiming she was on business trips. I knew her job didn't require travel. I wasn't dense. I knew she liked me. But my failure with Victoria made me afraid to hope. A year passed. At a business dinner, someone mentioned the Sterling Enterprise bankruptcy. The family business tanked after they let that son-in-law run it. A man gossiped, sipping his scotch. Guy's name was Rivers. Fake degree, fake resume. A professional con artist. Sad for the daughter. Heard she wants a divorce, but can't get one. Messy stuff. I listened, downed my drink, and felt nothing but a distant pity. One beautiful evening at sunset, Lily flew in again. She took me to dinner, then we walked in the park. Our hands brushed. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark. By the lake, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she handed me a fancy envelope. What's this? A love letter, she laughed. You rejected me in high school. You're not allowed to do it again. She sounded casual, but I saw her trembling hands. I looked at her blushing face. I stopped hiding. I took the letter, pulled her into my arms, and smiled. The letter is mine, and so are you. Story complete.